Today I'm going to focus on the difference between coders and programmers. Stand by, this video is about to start.
This is the Savage Scientist Ed right here. And I'm the Uber and police car.
What up, folks? This is the Savage Scientist and Governor of the state of Swampland, Ed right here. And I'm talking to y'all about the difference between coders and programmers. This is my opinion because this is a very unexplored, this subject is not defined. There's no definite answer to this problem because there's no specific definition of coders and programmers. So let me put the menu right here. So what I'm going to talk about today is programmers, coders, and computer programmers. So I'm going to just say it like this. A programmer is a great job to have, and in order to be a programmer you got to understand what programming is. So what I'm gonna do here is talk to y'all about this. So first of all, programming. Now you know what, before I get into programming is the action of using some type of steps to get a process done. So the earliest programmers I could think about, remember back in the day you had old VCR, you had to set your VCR to record a show at a certain time. That is the earliest examples of programming. You're not programming a computer. So the early programming is stuff like setting your watch, anything going through. In this previous example, we looked at programming as programming a machine that already has its function dedicated. Like a VCR is used to record movies, or if you programming your watch, you setting it to show the time, or the alarm on your watch, you setting it to make a certain noise at a certain time. That's basic programming. But as we move on to a more complicated situation here, we're going to talk about a multi-purpose machine. That's what a computer is. So Ada was the first computer programmer. And if you see Hidden Figures, you'll see that this is a group of black women that really did their shit for NASA. They used the probably Fortran. I think it was Fortran. That's really old computer language, but they used the computer to code the numerics or the trajectory for the moon landing. They did some groundbreaking shit for NASA at that time. And when you see that movie, you'll see that they use these big room-sized computers, and they were actually programming, or at least using the computer for a specific task. That's no different than programming a VCR, except it's a lot more complex, the language they use for Fortran. So now let's talk about what a coder is. A coder is normally a person who is using a computer programming language, like C#, Pascal, like even going back to our Hidden Figures example, she used a programming language to program that old IBM computer. And that's kind of like the difference in what Ada did. Ada actually used a multi-purpose machine and used it so she could change the variables like we do in a modern calculator. Except that modern calculator was Charles Babbage's adding machine. Ada Lovelace and Babbage, they work together to make that thing work. If you want more info on computing history, I could do a video on that too. Now let's expand on what is a coder. A coder is still a programmer, but a coder uses a specific programming language like C#, C++, Python, or some other language to do a specific task. Kind of like in Hidden Figures, how Dorothy used Fortran to help assist with getting the moon landing right. So as I mentioned earlier, coders are just people or programmers who are programming for a specific outcome. And you could look at a system administrator who is writing bash scripts, or a web programmer who is extracting data from a database like SQL statements. They are writing for a specific task. So their code will not be shared or would not be used to implement a bigger system. So you just finished up your boot camp, or you finished up your CS degree. You know how to code at this point. Now it's time to shine up your resume. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of my journey from coder to programmer. I started off as a coder, then I got a tester job. I started testing games for EA, and then I went to IBM. So as a tester, I had a chance to report bugs directly to developers. I saw the product evolve over time. I was able to view the code and actually see the code evolve over time. I had a chance to see software engineering in action. I was able to witness the stand-up meetings, the whole Scrum process, and I also had a chance to look at team dynamics and see if they were using the waterfall model, the spiral model, or some hybrid model. So my point here is a testing role can open a door to many different opportunities under the programming umbrella. So now, the easiest thing to do is to sit back, bitch, and complain about not having a job in this field, or not being able to take your coding skills to get a good job. Sometimes you have to take a little more time, especially if you're going for these FANG jobs at these companies. You know, FANG, F-A-N-G, the Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google, those companies, and whichever ones I left off. You know, if you're going for these companies, they're going to be looking more into how well you know data structures and how you could apply data structures and algorithms to make systems, or to at least demonstrate your knowledge of code. So let's look at these jobs now. So I randomly came across this graphic on OnGig website, and I want you to look. And this graphic just shows how many openings, or a rough estimate of how many openings for each of these jobs. So I want you to know most of these jobs are either developer or engineer, like front-end engineer, entry-level programmer, and you're going to see a lot of these jobs. But notice none of these jobs have coder in the title. And that's one thing you notice. And I guess that's the difference between coder and programmer. A programmer is a job title. A coder is a task. So this is the Savage Scientist, Ed, the governor of the state of Swampland. Till I make my next video, peace out.